Hi, everybody. I'm Mike. This is a bunch of Guns and Gear Reviews, and you are listening to The Right of the People, where we use the first to defend the second every Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. So uncover your keyboards and fire up your fingers. Time to join the conversation.
Hey, everybody out there on the YouTubes and the gun channels. I am so glad that you stopped by to be part of this conversation today. Midnight Range is out there early, but he may not be able to do anything. He left his headphones at home. So good on you, Mohawk boy. Good on you. We don't have too many people in here yet today. So I guess I'll try to run my yap for a little bit. Let people have an opportunity to get on in here. Let's see if we have anybody over there on the gun channel side yet. No, it doesn't even show me on the gun channel side. Oh, how about that? I guess that's not good, right? Nope.
I'm also not on the gun channel side right now.
Well, I would hope not. It'd be kind of difficult to do from your car. The Gun Snob. Hey, how's it going out there, sir? Glad you can make it. Well, I guess you're a sir. I guess I'm sort of assuming your gender. I apologize there. Can't do that in today's day and age, right?
Not in certain circles.
No, not in certain circles. Well, we do have a lot to talk about today. But first, I want to... Sandhill Shooter. Hi, glad you could come by. Got a lot to talk about today. First, I want to say hi to my panel. Matt from 50 Caliber Karma. Glad to see you.
Hey, guys. Glad to be here.
Squib is somewhat occupied at the moment, though. But
I just got back. I had to change out a resistor on a panel. So I'm back. Now I can go lock the doors.
Now you can go lock the doors.
Yes.
That's right. Mad Sexy 45 ACP 22 LR. Hey, how you doing? Glad you could come by.
Did you change his name again?
Yeah, Mad Sexy is constantly changing that name. But hey, that's okay. Not that there's anything wrong with that, as Seinfeld used to say. But, yeah, first thing I want to hit on tonight, and I'm not going to read all of it, because it's a pretty long judgment entry, but you might remember me talking a while back about the fact that the city of Columbus, Ohio, went and passed their own version of a bump stock ban, along with Cincinnati, I believe, did as well. Well, the Buckeye Firearms Association and Ohioans for Concealed Carry promptly filed a lawsuit, which was ruled on today. And Friday the 13th is not a lucky day for the city of Columbus, because Judge Kane out of Franklin County Courts has ruled that the bump stock ban by the city of Columbus was unconstitutional under Ohio law. Reading from the judgment entry, talks about this matter is an action for declaratory judgment. Currently, the ownership of firearms is regulated in the state of Ohio via Revised Code 9.68, which states, the individual right to keep and bear arms being a fundamental individual right that predates the United States Constitution and Ohio Constitution, and being a constitutionally protected right in every part of Ohio, the General Assembly finds the need to provide uniform laws throughout the state regulating the ownership, possession, purchase, other acquisition, transport, storage, carrying, sale, or other transfer of firearms, their components, and their ammunition, except as specifically provided by the United States Constitution, Ohio Constitution, state law, or federal law. A person, without further license, permission, restriction, delay, or process, may own, possess, purchase, sell, transfer, transport, store, or keep any firearm, part of a firearm, its components, and its ammunition. In addition to any other relief provided, the court shall award costs and reasonable attorney fees to any person, group, or entity that prevails in a challenge to an ordinance, rule, or regulation as being in conflict with this section. So,
So it
basically,
doesn't legally for me. What happened?
basically what that says is that in Ohio, no locality under the state level, in other words, a county, city, township, nothing, can make any law pertaining to guns, period. That's what that law says. Well, the city of Columbus decided that they didn't give a crap about that, and that they were going to try to say that a bump stock was not a part of a gun, it was an accessory of a gun. Columbus has criminalized the possession of what it defines as illegal rate of fire acceleration firearm accessories in their ordinance, which says no person shall knowingly acquire, have, carry, or use an illegal rate of fire acceleration firearm accessory. Whoever violates this section is guilty of unlawful possession of a firearm accessory, a misdemeanor, and that for purposes of this section, illegal rate of fire acceleration firearm accessory means any trigger crank, bump fire device, or any part, combination of parts, component, device, attachment, or accessory that is designed or functions to accelerate the rate of fire of a semi-automatic firearm, blah, 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 blah. Now, as I said, Buckeye Firearms Association and Ohioans for Concealed Carry, along with a resident, Gary Witt of Columbus, decided that this was some bullshit and they were going to file suit. And they did. So what the reasoning of the judge in this matter was that Columbus, the city of Columbus, is trying to define a bump stock as an accessory and not a part of a firearm. So the judge decided that their logic didn't hold water, that a stock is an integral part of a firearm, and it's an integral part of a rifle, to be specific, in that regardless of whether or not it's changed out, then it's still a firearms part, which is specifically protected under Ohio law from being declared illegal by a locality. And from the pertinent part of the judgment entry says the bump stock ban and RC 968 are in direct conflict. The state of Ohio clearly manifested an intent in revised code 968 to regulate the possession and use of firearms in Ohio. In fact, RC 968, which is revised code 968, states that a person may own, possess, purchase, sell, transfer, blah, blah, blah. The language is clear that 968 includes any component of a firearm. The things addressed in the bump stock ban are components of firearms. Columbus doesn't agree. Columbus tries to get around the language of RC 968 by arguing that the bump stock ban is a ban on gun accessories and not a ban on gun components. In particular, Columbus argues that since a regular firearm stock can be replaced with a bump stock is an accessory. So it goes on to say that the judge basically didn't agree and said, no, a stock is a part, and a part is protected, and therefore your bump stock ban is unconstitutional, and you got to pay. So the city of Columbus now has to pay the attorney's fees for Ohioans for Concealed Carry and Buckeye Firearms Association and Mr. Witt. So nice. That's awesome.
So we won this time.
We won this time. So what this does is, at least in Ohio, it sets precedent that bump stocks are parts of a firearm, not an accessory, not a something added on. It's a part. It's integral, regardless of whether you switch it out. Because one of the arguments that Columbus was trying to make was that, like a spoiler on a car is an accessory, not a car part, and they also tried to differentiate between who would change the part out, and the judge said no. That doesn't hold water. I don't agree. It's a part. It's a part. It's a part. So hopefully this, if it's appealed, which we don't know yet, OFCC, Ohioans for Concealed Carry, doesn't know yet whether or not the city of Columbus is going to appeal this. But hopefully it'll be upheld on appeal in Ohio, and that'll then be part of legal precedent, which could be drawn on by other areas to defend the good old bumpstock and or other firearm parts like binary triggers and et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's great.
I think that's great too. That's rad. That is rad bananas. It's always nice to see a victory. Somebody who believes in the right thing.
Absolutely right. We've had other victories pro 2A this week. Let me go dig through my stack of stuff. For instance, there was a big win for both the First and the Second Amendment out of Washington. I'm going to read a release by the Second Amendment Foundation. DOJ SAF reached settlement in defense distributed lawsuit. Bellevue, Washington. The Department of Justice and Second Amendment Foundation have reached a settlement in SAF's lawsuit on behalf of Cody Wilson and Defense Distributed over free speech issues related to 3D files and other information that may be used to manufacture lawful firearms. SAF and Defense Distributed had filed suit. Hey, Matt, can you do me a favor? Mute up.
Yeah, sorry, bud.
Okay, now where are we at? SAF and Defense.
I got you on my headphones now, so it's not quite as cool.
Okay, that's cool. SAF and Defense Distributed filed the suit against the State Department under the Obama administration, challenging a May 2013 attempt to control public speech as an export under the International Traffic in Arms Regulations, ITAR, a Cold War era law intended to control exports of military articles. Under terms of the settlement, the government has agreed to waive its prior restraint against the plaintiffs, allowing them to freely publish the 3D files and other information at issue. The government has also agreed to pay a significant portion of the plaintiff's attorney fees and to return $10,000 in State Department registration dues paid by Defense Distributed as a result of the prior restraint. Significantly, the government expressly acknowledges that non-automatic firearms up to .50 caliber, including modern semi-auto sporting rifles such as the popular AR-15 and similar firearms, are not inherently military. Let me read this again. Significantly, the government expressly acknowledges that non-automatic firearms up to .50 caliber, including modern semi-auto sporting rifles such as the popular AR-15 and similar firearms, are not inherently military. Not only is this a First Amendment victory for free speech, it also is a devastating blow to the gun prohibition lobby, noted SAF founder and executive vice president Alan M. Gottlieb. For years, anti-gunners have contended that modern semi-automatic sport utility rifles are so-called weapons of war, and with this settlement, the government has acknowledged that they are nothing of the sort. Under this settlement, he continued, the government will draft and pursue regulatory amendments that eliminate ITAR control over the technical information at the center of this case. They will transfer export jurisdiction to the Commerce Department, which does not impose prior restraint on public speech. That will allow Defense Distributed and SAF to publish information about 3D technology. So what this is talking about is a couple things. The suit is about...
Hold on, real quick.
Go ahead.
Where is this at? Or where?
This is in federal court.
Tits.
This is federal. This is law of the land stuff.
Outstanding.
What this is talking about is 3D printing of firearms, because Defense Distributed is the company that had come up with the plans for that 3D printed Liberator pistol. And while it's not exactly the most efficient and effective firearm you can imagine, it still is a firearm that you can 3D print. And they were spreading this the plans for this on the internet, and the government told them no, to stop this under the International Trade and Arms Regulation Act. They filed suit because they didn't agree with this. Defense Distributed also does, I believe, the Ghost Gunner CNC machine that will allow you to put an 80% lower in the machine, punch in the program, and stand back, and hey presto, it turns out a finished lower. It mills it out for you. The anti-gunners, the gun prohibitionists, wanted to stop this because, obviously guns are bad, okay? So they wanted to stop it. They got the Obama administration to issue a cease and desist, and Now, finally, that's at an end. The significant thing, like as I put emphasis on, was the fact that under this settlement, the government admits that modern sporting rifles, semi-automatic rifles, period, are not inherently weapons of war, like the anti-gunners have been trying to claim, like the anti-gunners have been trying to base their entire argument for abolishing AR-15s on. So that's great. Absolutely.
Dude,
got rid of their argument.
That is out freaking standing. That is like a huge, huge, huge thing. That, you know, it is now legally saying an AR-15 is not a weapon of war.
Yep. By the government.
That is just fantastic.
Let me go back out here to the chat. There's something. Let's see. Oh, talking about the California. I don't know why that didn't make it into my stack O stuff. It should have. About the California. Roosted's out there talking about how the California DOJ repealed the assault weapons registration because their system of registration wasn't up to par and people couldn't get it done by the deadline. As a matter of fact, it also had some, there were some guys that were deployed overseas that would have been felons because of this, because they couldn't get their guns, their legally owned weapons registered in California by the deadline. So yeah, that is a huge win for you folks out there behind enemy lines in the lands of fruit and nuts. Do you know anything about this, Matt?
Yeah, dude. I mean, I was one of those people had issues registering my AR that I was in the middle of building, and they wanted us to register those too. But yeah, dude. I mean, because I tried to go on that system, and it was totally messed up. It was going down every other time I tried to get on. I would get like, 3 pages into it, and it would just cancel itself. It's ridiculous. The whole thing obviously is ridiculous, but that system was ridiculous. And I think they've vastly underestimated the system they would have needed for such a thing. And I think that might give them pause in the future and be like, hey, there's more, people with these guns out here than we thought. We might want to reconsider our stance on trying to do terrible things to them.
One can hope. Roll call. Glad you can make it.
Sorry, I'm late. I was cutting the grass.
Hey, that's all right. As I always say, man, real life comes first, and you can't get more real than mowing your lawn, right?
I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
Tell me about it, man. A lot of times my lawn ends up looking like it needs baled instead of mown because, yeah, I hate doing it.
How big is your lawn that it's that bad?
To who are you speaking, me or Ro?
Anyone who doesn't like mowing their lawn?
Mine's on.
I have this fence.
Go ahead.
It's a bitch to mow around. That's all it is.
And my backyard's on about a 35-degree slope. Kind of sucks mowing that.
Okay, yeah, those things suck. My yard is only maybe 200 square feet. Nah, it's more than that. Maybe 300 or 400 square feet, but it's nice and gentle slope, maybe 5 degrees.
Yeah, my backyard's kind of a mutant. I absolutely freaking hate it. I keep threatening to get around to terracing the damn thing and then maybe paving it over so I don't have to mow at all. If I want vegetation, I'll put in planters, Well,
I think that's a good idea. Like a wicking bed would work much better for, say, growing vegetables.
Yeah. I think lawns are a waste of good space anyway.
Yep, I much prefer dryscaping or foodscape.
Yep, absolutely right. All right. So, we had a couple great wins this week for the Second Amendment. Actually, we had more because back on Monday, the president announced his pick to nominate for the Supreme Court of the United States. I'm sure we've all heard, those of you who pay attention to the channel heard my video on talking about Kavanaugh, I'm sure. But, there's been, well, what do we really know about this guy? He just has that one dissent, in Heller 2, what do we really know about Brett Kavanaugh? Well, one thing I've always believed in was that you can tell a lot about a man by who doesn't like him. By you can know a man not just by who his friends are, but also by who his enemies are. And in this piece out of Breitbart, it tells you who his enemies are. Dianne Feinstein and Kamala Harris oppose Brett Kavanaugh for Supreme Court. California's 2 U.S. senators both declared immediately on Monday evening that they will oppose the confirmation of D.C. Circuit Judge Brett Kavanaugh to the U.S. Supreme Court. Their votes are largely irrelevant since the Republican Party has a slim majority in the Senate and can confirm Supreme Court justices on simple majority vote, thanks in part to former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, who broke with tradition and ended the filibuster rule for most judicial nominees in 2013. Feinstein's opposition is relevant, however, as she is the ranking member, the leading member of the Democratic Party minority, on the Senate Judiciary Committee. Harris's opposition is also important for symbolic reasons, as she is widely considered a leading contender for the Democratic Party nomination for president in 2020. Both attacked Kavanaugh in strident terms without citing any specific decisions he had made. Kamala Harris said in a tweet, "Whether or not the Supreme Court enforces the spirit of the words equal justice under law is determined by the individuals who sit on that court." Well, she's right about that. Brett Kavanaugh represents a fundamental threat to that promise of equality. I will oppose his nomination to the Supreme Court. Trump's Supreme Court Justice nominee, Judge Kavanaugh, represents a direct and fundamental threat to the rights and health care of hundreds of millions of Americans. I will oppose his nomination to the Supreme Court. Feinstein also rejected a White House invitation to attend the announcement of Kavanaugh's nomination on Monday evening. Neither Feinstein nor Harris mentioned Kavanaugh's qualifications. A liberal Yale Law School professor wrote in the New York Times Tuesday that it is hard to name anyone with judicial credentials as strong as those of Judge Kavanaugh. And I gotta say, if they're against him, I'm for him. Speaking of against him, the Giffords Group weighed in on the nomination of Judge Kavanaugh to the U.S. Supreme Court. This is a press release by the Giffords Group from July 9th. Giffords, the gun safety organization founded by former Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords and Captain Mark Kelly, released the following statements after the announcement of President Trump's nomination of Judge Brett Kavanaugh to the U.S. Supreme Court following the retiring of Justice Anthony Kennedy. Former Representative Gabrielle Giffords says, "In nominating Judge Kavanaugh to the next Supreme Court justice, the Trump administration once again is showing brazen disregard for the people it claims to protect. Judge Kavanaugh's dangerous views on the Second Amendment are far outside the mainstream of even conservative thought and stand in direct opposition to the values and priorities of the vast majority of Americans. America needs a Supreme Court justice who respects the Second Amendment, but who also realizes reasonable regulations." I can't believe they write this shit with a straight face. "That reduce gun violence, do not infringe on anyone's constitutional rights." But that's not the kind of justice President Trump nominated today. America's gun violence epidemic weighs daily on the minds of so many families in our country. Parents live in fear of hearing their children describe to them what it's like to go through an active shooter drill. Too many people in communities across the country live in fear of being shot in their neighborhoods. In states across the country, students and voters have been speaking up, taking to state houses and demanding that lawmakers pass effective gun safety legislation. Their advocacy is delivering results. Just since the massacre in Parkland, more than 50 gun safety bills have passed in 26 states. I haven't seen one gun safety bill. I've seen a lot of gun control bills. I've seen nothing that actually teaches or promotes gun safety. Should the Senate confirm the nomination of Judge Kavanaugh, we have every indication to believe that he will prioritize an agenda backed by the gun lobby, putting corporate interest before public safety. Make no mistake, the progress we've achieved passing firearm laws that save lives every day will be in serious danger. Hannah Schurer, staff attorney and Second Amendment litigation director at Giffords Law Center, says, "Judge Kavanaugh has expressed a dangerous hostility toward reasonable gun regulations and made clear he believes the government's power to address gun violence is extremely limited." Judge Kavanaugh rejects the idea that courts should consider public safety when judging gun cases and would strike down bedrock gun laws like those that restrict civilian use of the dangerous military-style weapons regularly used in mass shootings. Even Justice Scalia One of the most conservative Supreme Court justices in modern history endorsed reasonable firearm regulations like the ones Judge Kavanaugh would strike down. Judge Kavanaugh's positions on the Second Amendment are outliers, far outside the mainstream, and confirming him to the Supreme Court could negatively impact efforts to fight gun violence for many years to come. The notion of Judge Kavanaugh serving on our nation's highest judicial bench should worry Americans who care about the safety of their families and communities. Now is the time for them to speak up and demand a nominee who will respect centuries of American legal tradition, recognize that gun rights have always gone hand in hand with responsible regulations, and put the life and liberty of all Americans ahead of the interest of the gun lobby. Since District of Columbia versus Heller was decided by the Supreme Court 10 years ago, the lower courts have overwhelmingly upheld reasonable gun safety laws more moderate than the handgun ban Heller invalidated. The United States Supreme Court has not granted review in a significant Second Amendment case since Heller and its companion case, MacDonald, and they have denied review in more than 80 cases. The confirmation of Judge Kavanaugh could mean that the Supreme Court intervenes more in these lower court cases and overturns decisions that have consistently protected public safety. In the near future, the Supreme Court may have the opportunity to rule on a variety of Second Amendment issues that are pending in the lower courts. For example, a series of NRA-backed lawsuits were filed this spring to challenge strong concealed carry permitting laws in New Jersey, Maryland, and New York. The NRA has also filed or supported a number of suits challenging critical gun safety measures adopted after the Parkland massacre, including laws that restrict access to the large capacity magazines used in Parkland and other mass shootings. Any one of these cases could be the next major Second Amendment case to reach the Supreme Court, with critical implications for public safety. And you know what? I hope you're right. I hope you are far right. I hope they all reach the Supreme Court and have tremendous implications for public safety. But to paraphrase a movie, I don't think that word means what you think it means.
Hey, I got a question.
Sure.
In the past, let's say 50 years, what restriction that's been enacted has made the public safer? Because I'm struggling to think of one that has made us any bit safer.
Well, you know, there's that time that they safety. If you can't detect the sarcasm and facetiousness there,
the restrictions the restrictions in some cases I think have made places more dangerous.
I mean,
because now they're soft targets.
Absolutely right. I mean, all you have to do. Let me look this up.
While he's looking that up, I'll remind you all, Tuesday nights, hit or miss, 9 o'clock. Because I saw a sign that said hit or miss, and that's what happens now.
I mean, you know, when you're talking about tons of restrictions and gun safety measures and common sense stuff, you know, year to date in Chicago, 237 shot and killed, 1,257 shot and wounded, total shot 1,494, total homicides 289 from HeyJackass.com. So, yeah, gun control
something else
in
to
action.
Consider. Something else to consider. I've heard this about, in the name of safety, saying that in order to buy one of these more dangerous weapons, you know, because it just makes it whatever. Anyhow, you need to take special training. Okay, so let me get this straight. You're going to have somebody who knows nothing about guns, who wants to go commit mass murder, doesn't care about what happens to them, maybe even hopes for suicide by cop or something, right? And wants as much notoriety as possible. But they don't know the first damn thing about guns. And you're going to, oh my goodness, train them to make them even more effective. Brilliant. Brilliant. Well, I know some of it's safety training so they don't shoot themselves in the foot. No, I want this asshole to shoot themselves in the foot so they don't make it to the school or the mall or the church or wherever the heck it is that they plan to do this thing. I don't want them to get any training in marksmanship. I don't want them to learn how to work the thing. If they can't read the manual, good. You know, maybe they'll break it. And you know, I mean, it's just the logic there, or some of these laws with the names they've got, you know, like the Keep Every Kid Safe Act, which has nothing to do with children or something like that. It's just, ugh.
Well, and in their fantasy, they ignore the most basic point of reality, and that is that a criminal, by very definition of the word, is not going to follow the law. I mean, it's already illegal to kill somebody. It's already illegal to commit murder. It's already illegal to commit armed robbery. It's already illegal to rape. It's already illegal to commit kidnapping. It's already illegal to sell drugs. It's already illegal to use drugs. Yet all of these things happen every day, despite the fact that they're already illegal. Thus proving that making a law about something is useless. All a law is good for is to punish somebody after they've already committed the act. Laws don't prevent anything except for the law abiding. Because believe me, there's some people walking around right now that wouldn't be if it were legal. But the fact is, I'm a law-abiding citizen. Most people are law-abiding citizens, and we don't do things because it's illegal. But those that aren't law-abiding citizens could give a rat's ass about the law. So making another one is useless. Philo says, I can only think of one gun law that might work. Before you take your gun home in California, you have to load it and unload it safely. That's okay, I guess. It takes 2 seconds and might help someone. I don't know. I think it's kind of irrelevant and a pointless waste of time.
No. Here's the thing. If you don't know how to use it, when you're at the gun store and you ask them, they'll show you. Now, if you don't want to ask them, all right, fine. It comes with an owner's manual if you buy it new. If not, oh my goodness, they're available on this thing called the internet. Almost every manufacturer has PDF downloads of their manuals. You can also look up YouTube videos. You can buy books. You can take classes. I don't recommend taking classes because some of them instructors out there are some real yahoos.
Yeah, you want to be
money.
You want to be careful about who you have as an instructor. We just had one of our local instructors shoot himself in the knee with an AR-15.
Nice. So, was his name Boda?
No.
Okay. So here's the best thing you can do. If you don't know jack about guns and you want to get a gun buddy. Somebody who already knows about guns. Somebody who has had some sort of background in firearms, whether it be they grew up hunting, they've shot competitively, they were in the military, they're in law enforcement, they're a gunsmith, they worked at a gun store. What else? I'm sure there's other things, just escapes me right now. But somehow or another, don't just get somebody who just got into guns just like you, because both of you are going to be lost. Find somebody and be warned, they may have some bad habits. So you might want to double check some of the stuff that they do after they show you. But the whole point is, there's lots of people out there with a background in this, and there's lots of information out there, and there's lots of, and some is good and some is bad, but I don't agree with anything that says you need training at all, period.
Yep.
I just don't. Because there's some people that already know that don't need it, and the other people, you're kind of, you're starting to regulate the Second Amendment. There's way too much access to training, free and paid, out there for everybody. Do your own due diligence. Or just plain don't get a gun. If you're that nervous, if you're that apprehensive, if you're that, if you really want one of these things, you'll do what it takes to get it, legally or illegally. The people that do it illegally, those are the criminals. The people that do it legally, those are the good guys like us. So,
I mean,
yeah.
And honestly, if you really want a gun, they're not that hard to make. A couple pieces of pipe and a pipe cap with a nail, and you have a shotgun. I mean, as a matter of fact, bringing that up, let's see, where's that in my stuff? Bringing that up, let's see. As a matter of fact, San Francisco gun buyback gets played with homemade shotgun. From July 11th, individuals running San Francisco's annual gun buyback got played Saturday by an individual who turned in a homemade shotgun for money. ABC 7 reports the buyback offered $100 for every handgun and $200 for every assault weapon, no questions asked. It was sponsored by United Players, a violence prevention group, and overseen by the San Francisco Police Department. The homemade shotgun was one of 187 guns turned in during the day. It consisted of a pipe zip-tied to a piece of wood. It had no hammer or trigger and lacked sights. The buyback also brought in numerous corroded single-shot black powder handguns, but San Francisco Police Director of Communications David Stevenson praised the buyback effort. Stevenson said, "We don't know what to expect year to year. Even getting one gun off the street is a good thing if it's measured by its potential for harm." So yeah, I saw a picture of this this shotgun, and it was a black pipe slam fire shotgun, zip tied to a wooden stock that had higher point written on it in marker. It's brilliant.
Yeah, see, you brought up the black powder. I've seen news and pictures in the newspaper in the past, long time ago, gun, air quote, buybacks, right? And on almost every picture, every video clip, there was a black powder revolver, reproduction black powder. And this is back when you could get them for $100 or less in these buybacks. I remember one picture is a brand spanking new 1851 Navy. And I'm looking at it going, I wonder if the cops bought this and put it in there, because I only had 2 other guns. They had 3 guns total in the buyback, and 2 of them were beat to crap. They were more modern centerfire type or shotguns or something like that. And then you had the brand spanking new reproduction revolver. It's the cheapest gun you can buy, or at least back then it was. And I'm just thinking, you know, they're like, hurry up, go out and buy something, but don't spend a lot of money. $99 later, ooh, look, we got this shiny new, and the average person wouldn't know the difference between an 1851 Navy and a Model 29, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of the buybacks for a lot of reasons. And one is, especially in these inner city neighborhoods, you are more or less enticing the criminals to break into people's houses to steal guns to turn in. And when you say no questions asked and the police are right there, okay, $200 for an assault rifle, right? So how about if I bring in an M16A1 that's been stolen from the U.S. Army for the past 50 years, and I want my $200, and I'm right there in front of the police with this thing, and it is 110% illegal, stolen, blah, 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 and what, they can't touch me? I'm not buying it. So
yeah, I don't think you could bet they're going to write down your license plate and be looking at you anyway. They'd be fools not to.
On these buybacks, they'll give out gift cards. A lot of times, they don't even give cash. And what these people want is cash so they can flip it and go get drugs. But they're going to bust into somebody's house. They're going to steal their cheap home defense gun.
There are a lot of places, though, a lot of pawn shops where you can sell those gift cards. Sell them to the pawn shop.
There you go.
You know,
well, or you can do stuff like you can, you can sell it for, and then you get your crack money. So what you're doing is you're enticing the crack fiends to break into people's houses. These are the people who have the one handgun unlocked in the nightstand where it's pretty obvious and anybody can get to it for home defense. I'm not talking about the house with the really expensive safe bolted to the floor and stuff.
Yeah.
They bust into the house and maybe they take a few other things, but they got that gun and then they go turn it in and then they sell the gift card and then get some crack money and then they're back at it the next day.
General Relativity says, I have some pipe ready for the next buyback, if there is a next one, LOL. Dude, I've been sitting here actually in my basement looking at some black pipe that I had bought for that purpose. So I'm a step ahead of you, buddy. Step ahead of you. So I'm planning to make 3 or 4 of them and then wait for the next next one around here and rake in the cash, because their black pipe shotgun is not hard to make and it's not expensive to make. So I'm with you, pal. A little while ago, talked about Gabby Giffords Group and their opposition to Kavanaugh. But, here's here's another piece that catches Gabby Giffords Group and NPR in a lie. NPR, Gabby Giffords Gun Control Group, self-defense gun usage is a myth. On July 6th, Gabby Giffords Gun Control Group retweeted NPR criticism of the good guy with a gun scenario and described claims of armed citizens defending themselves as a myth. Giffords Group minced no words. The good guy with a gun narrative is a myth meant to scare people into buying guns for self-defense. The truth? People rarely use guns for self-defense. I should have Hold on. Let me, if you guys want to go ahead and chat for a second, I got to pull something up because I want to screen share something with you guys.
So every time at the end of the show, when you talk about a self-defense use, a lawful self-defense use of a firearm, I guess it's fake news.
Yeah,
that's what they're saying.
I'm making shit up because that's what I do.
He's the Budget News Network.
Nice.
Well, what do you expect for budget? I'm going to lie about shit. me see, where's this at?
Brought to you by High Point Firearms. We'll tell
Higher
you
Point.
lies about people defending their lives so that you buy guns.
Yeah, Matt's right. It's not High Point, it's Higher Point for me anyway.
Yeah, that's easily the funniest thing I've ever heard. And now I kind of just want to go get a High Point so I can have that engraved on there.
Get the Higher Point Model 420.
Yeah, Model 420-69. Nice. Man,
All right,
you guys always take forever to respond after I say something. Is there an echo? Do I just take forever?
No, you're good.
No, I can hear the rim shot in my head. That's what this show needs, a drummer. There we go.
All right. So from this piece on Breitbart, the Giffords Group minced no words. They said that the good guy with a gun narrative is a myth meant to scare people into buying guns for self-defense. But ironically, Giffords Group tweeted their message on the very day that Milwaukee police publicly released a video of a man attacking a female restaurant employee, only to be stopped by another female employee who pulled a gun and pointed it at him. Here's the surveillance video from Milwaukee.
Nice.
Yeah, that dude stops in his tracks. Watch it.
The gun.
But I guess this is some Hollywood crap.
The gun was a tool, and the type of tool it was an equalizer.
Exactly.
And they don't get that. They don't get that.
Look at his demeanor when she pulls it out. He's like,
let's watch this again.
Also, they don't get the fact that when it's used defensively or as a deterrent, it has a greater effect than when it's used offensively in a crime, I guess you could say. But that gets more attention.
Look at him.
Let me go through this one more time because it's fun to watch. For those of you who may be listening on Podbean, we're showing video of a guy going back into the kitchen of a restaurant and punching this waitress right in the head. And another waitress pulled the weapon. And as soon as she does, this guy's entire demeanor changes and he walks away. Because he knows that if he presses his attack, bad things are going to happen, even though the Giffords Group and NPR would tell you that this is nothing but a myth. Back to the article, it says, moreover, Giffords Group's tweet came just 2 days after a mother in Dallas shot a would-be carjacker to save her two toddlers who were sitting in the vehicle. Breitbart News reported that the suspect allegedly jumped in the mother's car on July 4th and tried to drive off, leaving her no option but to shoot him in the head, which was the Texas warning shot. She shot him, and he had to be rushed to the hospital, but the two toddlers sustained no injuries. On June 26, 2018, Breitbart News reported that a 56-year-old Akron, Ohio mother called 911 to report an alleged home intruder. While she was on the phone, the intruder allegedly tried to push his way into the home. The mother's son shot and killed the suspect. On June 25, 2018, Breitbart News reported on a man who allegedly traveled all the way from New Zealand to meet up with a 14-year-old girl in Virginia. The catch? She did not want to see him. The man allegedly arrived at the home with pepper spray, duct tape, and a knife. The girl's mother shot him in the neck. On June 24, 2018, Breitbart News reported that a home invasion suspect refused to leave a Geneva County, Alabama home and was shot dead by the female homeowner. And the list of armed citizens using guns to stop crime and defend their lives goes on and on. Yet Giffords Group says such incidents rarely happen. They try to justify their claim by pointing to an April 13, 2018 MTR article that questions Gary Kleck's academic finding of hundreds of thousands of defensive gun uses a year. The NPR article, in turn, relies on gun control researcher David Hemingway, who claims Kleck's numbers cannot be correct because there are not enough hospital visits by gunshot victims to support not enough hospital visits by gunshot victims to support Kleck's defensive gun usage claims.
That's because some of them die.
Hemingway failed to note the point that Kleck makes over and over, namely that a defensive gun use does not always require the trigger to be pulled. In many instances, just drawing the weapon is enough to cause the assailant to flee, as we saw in the example of the video above.
Yeah, that's why I have a problem with the brandishing law here in Michigan. If somebody comes at you with a knife and you pull your firearm, or you even pull up your shirt and show your firearm, and you look them right in the eye and you say, "Do you really want to do this?" And they run off, and they call the police, and they call the police. They say, "He showed me his gun. You're going to jail." They don't care that he had a knife. They don't care that he had a bat. They don't care that he had a gun. You're the bad guy because you brandish it. You brandish it.
Frankly, in a situation like that, you're better off to shoot him and tell the cops you fear your life.
Almost, yeah, because you're going to get charged with brandishing. Now, the police do have the ability to go, okay, it was justified. We're going to just let it go. What they recommend you do is you immediately call 911 after this guy takes off, and you say, "Look, I had to do this. I'll wait here. You know, the cops come, they check your gun, they check you. Maybe they go look for the guy or whatnot. But if he gets to the phone first, you're screwed. If he, even if you
go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and replay that video, reshare this again, because apparently my screen was locked on Matt's wonderful avatar. So I'm going to go ahead and free screen share.
Full screen at this time.
Yeah.
Try to find it.
But now, see, all she had to do was show him the gun. She didn't have to kill him. This is an example exactly what you're talking about. The firearm was discharged, but it did its job. It did its job.
Did they ever catch this guy that assaulted the first
lady? They were able to ID him. They were able to ID him from the footage there. Am I getting him mixed up with another? I might be getting him mixed up with another one. I thought it was he got charged in 2016 and 2017, so he already had a criminal record. And then the guy who jumped in the car, she shot him in the face, and he got out of the car and ran, and they caught him.
Well, he probably
How do you run away after you're getting shot in the face? Can somebody explain that to me?
Yeah, dude. I mean, you get shot through one cheek, out the other. You just run off.
Adrenaline, man. Adrenaline. I mean, unless it's right to that brain. I mean,
I don't know, man. I don't know.
and you figure with all this stuff that's in the news about people defending themselves, criminals would get the idea not to do it. But that just shows that they're always going to do it no matter the risk.
And for the people out there who say, then just carry around an unloaded gun if brandishing is all it takes. Sometimes brandishing doesn't work. Sometimes you show them the gun and then they pull out their gun. Or sometimes you show them a gun and they don't care. They're crazy.
Can everybody see this now?
Yes. Oh. You've got to be able to deliver that deadly force, not just have the tool to do it, but have the mindset to do it in case it gets to that level. You want to try to do everything you can to keep it from getting to that level, but if it does, you've got to be able to do it and deal with it best you can later.
All right.
Let's go ahead
and watch that for those that couldn't see this before. I apologize for that. But, yeah, it's interesting to see his demeanor change completely. Oops. Wait a minute. Put the brakes right on.
And this was over him having to wait too long for his food.
Yeah. So
you see, she's got the stance and everything.
Yeah, she looked like she knew what she was doing. So that's a good sign. You know, it's not like, you know, she's untrained and she's, you know, she has no idea how to hold a firearm.
That's the other thing. If she was shaking, if she was fumbling around trying to get it out of a purse or whatever, she pulled it out from underneath her apron. She took a stance and she was ready. And if he had any bit of a clue, I mean, he's already dumb enough to do this, but if he had any bit of a clue, he realized she really means it. But if you're shaking and you can't get the gun out and, you know, whatever, no, they're not going to take you seriously. You've got to know what you're doing.
You have to be committed to it. You have to be committed. When you pull that weapon, you have to be committed. You can't do anything with a half measure. You have to have it set in your mind that if I have to pull this weapon, I am absolutely willing to follow through with what that means. Because if you are hesitant, if you are shaking, they're going to own you and they're going to own your gun. And then all kinds of bad things happen.
Well, you know, you got to keep the other things in mind too, like that the pair of pants you're wearing, the shirt, you're never going to wear them again because the blood splatter's just never going to come out, and you know, stuff like that too.
The gun snob says, I hate it when it takes too long to get my food. I'm fat. I feel his pain. I'm with you, brother. I'm with you. There have been times when I've been pretty mad about waiting so long to get my food, but all I do is just not leave a tip or maybe leave a penny tip. I don't.
It's not the waitress.
Smack someone in the head.
It's not the waitress. It's the cook in the back. Get mad at Midnight Range TM. Don't get mad at the waitress.
That's right. It's Mohawk Boy's fault. He's one of the Travi anyway, isn't he?
It's the Travis.
Did you see how fast he cut up that celery? He had a fully semi-auto knife, and he chopped up that celery. So I don't think you're going to be waiting at his restaurant for food, because if that's how fast he can cut celery, imagine how fast he can do everything else in the kitchen.
Dude, celery is awesome.
Full course meal in 4 minutes.
You know what, Philo? You're absolutely right. Criminals have a saying that explains everything. They call getting arrested catching a case. In their mind, it's like catching a cold. They play the chance game. They know they'll probably get away. You're absolutely right. I talk to criminals every day, and that's exactly what they say. They know that they know that chances are they're going to get away with it. And when they do get caught, it's just the price of doing business. That's it.
So have you ever asked them about dealing with a weak opponent versus a strong opponent? I mean, have you ever asked them, did they gravitate towards?
They absolutely gravitate towards someone that they see is going to be a weak mark. You see it. Well, for one, they'll tell you if you sit there and you talk to them about it. For another, I'll see it when they are dealing with our staff. If we have an inexperienced, weak staff, it's someone that isn't going to hold them accountable or that they know they can bully, man, they'll bully that staff and make that staff member do things for them all day long. They won't shut up. They won't listen to anything they're told. They'll run right over them. But when someone like me walks on the pod, silence falls and they do exactly what they're supposed to do because they know damn well that I'm not going to have it. And I've established that reputation. And I carry myself in that manner. And so they absolutely will attack someone that they perceive as being weak.
That was weird.
Yeah, we all got dumped.
Really?
Yeah, but when I came back in, you were still on the same subject, so can kind of piece together what you were saying. The audience didn't get dumped, so that's good.
That's the important thing is those guys.
Even though some of them do deserve to be dumped. Travis.
I love my audience. They're all wonderful. Every single
I don't think that's accurate.
What, that I love my audience or that they're all wonderful?
Hey, either of those. I mean, you're part of your own audience, right?
By being my audience, that automatically makes them wonderful. The best audience on the internet.
You keep saying that word, wonderful. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Yeah.
All right. Well, one more piece of bad news before we get to something good. Although we did have some good news at the beginning of the show. That's true. Academy sports manager fired after subduing alleged gun thief. There's that word, alleged. The manager of a Tallahassee, Florida Academy sports store was fired after subduing a gun thief who allegedly tried to steal a handgun. The Tallahassee Democrat reports that the 32-year-old manager, Dean Crouch, stopped Jason White from leaving the store with a .40 caliber pistol from the firearms counter on June 29th. White allegedly asked to look at a handgun, then took off for the front door when it was handed to him. Crouch gave chase and tackled White, who also allegedly had a stolen backpack, 5 boxes of ammunition, and 2 magazines for the Glock. Police report that White admitted stealing the gun and allegedly said, "I will steal again when I get out of jail." Tallahassee police indicate that White had stolen 2 guns from Cash America Pawn just hours before entering the Academy store. Academy fired Crouch this week. The company refused to provide specifics on his firing, but did say, while the incident ended without injury, actions inconsistent with corporate policies were taken. We addressed the matter with the local store and individuals involved. Crouch's attorney, Ryan Hobbs, said Academy has decided to, instead of treating him like the hero he is, they terminated his employment effective immediately because he put his hands on Mr. White. Crouch is weighing the possibility of filing suit for wrongful termination. Well, good luck.
Boycott! Boycott!
Good luck, Mr. Crouch, but you're boned. You violated company policy, and there's nothing that you can do.
Okay,
That
look,
being
he
said-
might not be able to get him for wrongful termination because it's in the employee handbook. It might be pointless for him to try to sue. But he did the right thing. He probably kept that gun from getting sold on the street to a gangbanger or this guy using it in a crime himself. I mean, when you said it was 40 caliber, I was like, screw it, let him take it because it's whatever. And then when you said Glock, I'm like, oh, definitely let him take it because it's a Glock. But the reality of it is, this guy was stealing guns and ammunition, either to commit a crime or to sell on the street to people that are going to go commit crimes. This guy did the right thing.
Apparently, he was going to commit a crime because Mohawk Boy says, dude, they let the guy out on bail. He only had to cough up $500 cash and told the cops he would get a gun and kill the guy he was going to kill. Judge,
so this is what you mean by catching a case?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was getting weapons because he was planning to kill someone specific. So this guy prevented, or at least delayed, this guy from getting, the manager delayed this guy from getting the means with which to commit a murder. But Academy fired him because, we can't have someone putting their hands on a miscreant. Because
the first time I heard about this, it was on 60 Minutes, and they were interviewing a former 7-Eleven employee who had somebody mug them. They were all alone in the store, and this person pulled out from underneath their trench coat a Mauser 98 with the stock and the barrel cut down so they could almost use it like a really long pistol. It was empty, but the person behind the counter didn't know that. They snatched it out of the robber's hand and somehow or another subdued the robber, locked the doors, whatever, called the cops. And the cops came, arrested the person, took the gun, blah, blah, blah. And 7-Eleven fired this person. And the same thing. They went and filed a lawsuit. And 7-Eleven's thing is, our policy is, if you're getting robbed, give them whatever they want. Do not resist. So this is along the same corporate BS.
Yep.
There's a time and a place to follow the rules down to the letter, and then there's a time and a place to go, this is kind of a gray area, or this isn't what the rules were meant for, and maybe we need to look at this, and maybe they take some action against the guy, like they send him away to training for a week or two, or they reassign him to another store, or maybe they offer to give him a severance and let him go, don't just fire him, or whatever. But I mean,
well, there's a time and a place.
He did the right thing.
There's a time and a place to follow your policy. There's a time and a place to follow the corporate rules. But then there's a time and a place to do the right thing. And if some jackass is running out of your store with a gun, stealing it, you do everything you can to stop his ass because he is up to no good. There is nothing good going to come of that gun being stolen.
So let's look at it from the other point of view, though. Let's say this guy goes and takes this gun and this ammunition that he stole out of this store, and they didn't stop him, and he kills that person, and that person's family sues Academy Sports for not stopping him.
That's what should happen.
But now you got a body too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
But if that were the case, that's what hopefully that's what should happen because their policy said that allowed it to happen. I mean, that's kind of a stretch, but at least it's something that would deter these corporations from administering discipline and firing the employees who, actually defend themselves and or defend the public. It's like the pizza delivery driver that gets fired for defending himself when he's robbed. What a crock, to my way of thinking, if someone points a gun at you, if you have the means and opportunity with which to defend yourself, you do it, period. And speaking of having the means and methods with which to defend yourself, this is out of the San Francisco Bay Area. Richmond homeowner shoots intruder in self-defense. A home invasion robbery suspect was shot while breaking, this is from the Bay City News. Home invasion robbery suspect was shot while breaking into a residence in Richmond early this morning, according to police. This is from July 6th. The shooting was reported at 12:15 a.m. at a residence in the 1300 block of Altamira Drive. Investigators said a 47-year-old man attempted to break into 2 homes and then after allegedly entered a 3rd home by breaking a window. The sort of thing doesn't happen around here, said neighbor Debbie Attaway. The resident shot the suspect, quote, a few times, unquote, incapacitating him, police said. The family member had no other choice but to defend himself and his family by incapacitating the suspect by shooting him in the upper torso, Sergeant Lynette Parks said. According to police, the suspect had already tried breaking into 2 other homes unsuccessfully before attempting the home in Altamira Drive. Quiet, reserved, close-knit family. They keep to themselves. They don't bother anybody. They are very, very nice, said Attaway. The suspect was reportedly shot in the torso and was transported to a hospital in critical condition, police said. Attaway says that she has 2 young children and that she's afraid of any stray bullets flying or coming through the house. Officers said the resident has been extremely cooperative and that the shooting appears to be a clear case of self-defense. So there it was. I guess this is a myth, though, according to NPR and the Giffords Group. This didn't really happen. You know, we have someone able to defend themselves and protect their pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness from someone who would deprive them of it. Once again, as I go through week after week after week, and this whole Giffords Group and NPR lie is why I do this, because you never hear about this stuff nationally. If you did, the narrative on gun control would be far, far different.
Every time you say that, the only thing that pops in my head is, what do Kathy Lee and Frank Giffords know about guns?
Yeah.
I mean, really?
Wrong, Giffords.
Oh.
It's Gabrielle Giffords, that Congress lady that was shot in the head by that nut job.
She the one that was in the grocery store parking lot in Tucson where they want to put a memorial, even though she survived? They want to put a memorial.
Yes,
is that the whole, like, if a plane crashes on the U.S.-Canada border, where do you bury the survivors? You don't bury survivors. How can you have a memorial when somebody didn't die?
Exactly. But, hey, you know, apparently facts don't matter. It's as long as it helps the narrative along, right? So, in closing, I just want to, again, thank everybody in the chat for coming here and being part of the conversation. I absolutely love having you guys there and being part of this. Let me go ahead and go through the room. Matt, is there anything you want to add, sir?
No, dude. I'm finally cooled down and hydrated, and I just had a great time. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, no problem. I enjoy having you. Roll call. Anything you want to add, sir?
Thanks for having me, Budget. Sorry I was tardy. That's an example of how I was in school. But yeah, go check me out. I've been doing some stuff on Gunstreamer, so go check out Gunstreamer. I've been doing some stuff over there. Other than that, I'm always on YouTube one way or the other. And thanks again for having me.
Squib, anything you want to leave us with, sir?
Just happy to get wound up on a Friday night. It's the end of the week. I'm really low on energy, but you got me all wound up, so I appreciate it. It'll help get me through the next 2.5 hours.
All right. Well, one is glad to be of service. All right. Now I'm going to leave you guys with something I keep forgetting to mention. I finally got accepted to the YouTube Partner Program. They finally got that review done. So yay, back to being monetized. So not that means much with the way AdSense is paying nothing, but hey, you know, it's something anyway. I guess it's more for the honor of the thing, you know. So
does that mean before somebody watches one of your videos, they got to watch the guy in the monkey suit talk about the purple mattress or whatever?
Yes, now you have to watch the guy in the monkey suit talk about the purple mattress. The difference is now I'm getting like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a cent for it. As always, you know, you can find me here on YouTube. We'll do this every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern. You can also find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Gunstreamer, which, matter of fact, I'm putting all of my content on Gunstreamer as well as YouTube. As a matter of fact, my entire back catalog is already up there. So as I post new videos, I also post them over there. there will be some stuff going up on Gunstreamer that doesn't go up on YouTube once I get around to doing it. And that'll be things like, you know, instructional videos, whatnot for firearms. Like, oh, I'm planning to do a make a black pipe shotgun. That's not something that you can do on YouTube. However, you can quite readily do it over on Gunstreamer. So things like that are going to go over there. So if you're not on Gunstreamer, go ahead and go over to Gunstreamer and sign up. It is absolutely free. You don't have to pay anything. And check out my channel over there too, because you'll find some stuff in the near future that won't exist here on YouTube. As always, let your Congress critters know what you think. In particular, call your senators, write your senators, send them cables, heliographs, smoke signals, carrier pigeons, whatever you have to do. Let your senators know that we need them to confirm Judge Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court. You know, we need to have another pro-Second Amendment voice on the court to more firmly cement the 5-4 majority. And, you know, make sure that if and when the president gets another pick, that we'll have a 6-3 majority on the court. Because as I've said before, that's how we're going to win this gun rights battle. It's through the Supreme Court, not through, you know, legislation, et cetera. It's going to be through lawsuits that end up finding these unconstitutional laws to be unconstitutional. So it's critically important that we're on our senators right now, today. Call them, send an email, do something. Even if it's an anti-gun senator, put the pressure on them. Like I have one that's hasn't met a gun control law he didn't like, but I'm still going to be calling that one. We need to make sure that we hold their feet to the fire to get this confirmation process through. So as always, I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks.